God is so great because He even understands that the gifts that we have can even be too great for us. We can always look back and say, well, if I just would have known what I know now back then, things would be different. Well, of course. But at the same time, you weren't as much growth that you've been through. You weren't as mature as you are now. And your spirituality is probably stronger than it was back then. So even then, God knew that what you needed then is not what you needed until now. Let's get to the next episode. Yo, what is good, everybody, man? Welcome back to another Kids Room Podcast episode. And today, we're going to be getting into God will give you exactly what you need when that time comes. We tend to be so greedy of people. We're so selfish. We don't even want to think about anybody else. We don't even want to know about what anybody else got going on because of what we have. What we think about ourselves, what in our thoughts are selfish thoughts because we desire to only want to get what we need. But even God knows that sometimes we are not mature enough to receive the blessings that He wants us to have. The things that you want now, right? There's a reason that you don't have it. It's simple. There's a season for everything. We have to be calm. We have to be collected. We have to be with Christ. We have to know where peace is, where joy is, and where the fruits of the Spirit are. And that's with Christ. That's getting a relationship. And a lot of times, God is going to cause you to go through that storm a lot of times in life. You're going to go through a lot of things in life as you get closer with God. Because God wants you to continue to lean within Him. Not only whenever it's hard or whenever it's good, but always. That our own understanding is what we shouldn't even lean on, but His understanding. We get caught up to realize that maybe I don't deserve this, or I don't deserve that, right? Because I don't have it now. But God knows when you should have it. God knows that you have to do the right things, to do it the right way in order to have it and not even lose it. God wants you to keep all your blessings. God wants us to have opportunity to protect our blessings, to work hard for our blessings. And He wants to set it all up. But it's not always going to be a walk in the park. And we shouldn't expect it to be that way either. Greed can sometimes lead us astray. At one point, all I ever wanted was to run track. All I ever wanted was to follow my dreams and to have my goals. And that's great and that's perfect. But at the same time, it wasn't until I got into the Word, it wasn't until I started really thinking about, well, if I achieve everything I want, then who's it going to be for whenever I die? Who's it going to be for whenever I want to leave a legacy for? That's when I started to learn that, man, I read the Word and I saw that Christ was not living for Himself, but living for everybody else around Him. That Christ spent time with other people as God allowed it, as God called Him to do that, because that person's life, that person's spirit was going to be changed. Because Christ didn't speak to all of us, right, in human form, but somehow so many people have a relationship with Him. So many people want to have a relationship with Him because He has shown up time and time again. Yes, we might think that He doesn't show up in the hard times. We might think that He's not there within spirit with us whenever we're going through the hard situations and the hard things. But that's not for us to decide. And that's not for us to even think that we know. Because Christ is here with us. Christ is growing with us. Christ is speaking to me on a daily basis, right? That the blessing is where we stand, right? It's not going to the blessing. It's receiving the blessing. God didn't tell you to travel to the blessing. God wants you to sit down, relax, breathe, and to receive the blessing. When you get caught up in your feelings, when we get caught up angry, indecisive, sitting on the fence, wanting to look at the devil, play with the devil, and at the same time love God and talk to God, we're going to have to pick one day, right? I'm not going to say you got to pick today, but eventually we're going to have to pick. I will have to pick. You will have to pick. Everyone will have to pick. But when judgment day comes, God has already decided. So you don't get to pick at that time. Because now we get to pick now every day that you're alive, the opportunity that you get to have. That's because God wants you to have those opportunities to love and to be with Him and to just experience life for what it truly is. I think back a lot of times whenever I took a trip to Arizona with me and my family the first time. And we drove all the way to the Grand Canyon. It was about, from Phoenix, it was about 3 or 4 hours, I think. 4 hours, 4.5 hours. And to see that Phoenix was like a desert, but northern Arizona was trees, cliffs, mountains, right? Mountains in Phoenix, but different types of mountains. Mountains with snow on it and things like that. Like the way that God has created this planet on this earth is amazing. And whenever we go to the Grand Canyon, I'm not going to get into much detail, but when you go to the Grand Canyon, you have to see it. You have to believe it to see it. And that's what it is whenever you arrive somewhere. In a moment in time, whenever the things that you prayed for and you're living in it, and you didn't even realize that you was living in it, but maybe you was already living in it, but you didn't appreciate it because of the storm that you was going into. Look back at what you asked for. But don't be fooled, because God gonna give it to you at the right time. But guess what? With the storm, time is flying by. And before you know it, that you actually living in the prayer. That you actually living in the blessing. Right? That you might have not asked for it, but I had to go to the Grand Canyon to get to where I'm at now. To get to what I'm talking to now. To get to how I feel now. To get to how I pray and talk to God now. Because I see what He's doing. I see what He's done. And when I ask for things, I know that it might not come immediately, but I know to trust God and to walk with Him. Today was a day to rejoice. And whether you realize that rejoicing doesn't mean that everything is going to be good, everything's going to be merry, everything's going to work out, it's not that. But it's to be realistic and have a good mindset even when things don't go right. Because most of the time, the plan never goes as planned. It's always unplanned. The plan never goes as planned. It's always unplanned. Because whenever you trust God, there is no plan. It's only His plan. And if you don't know His plan, you will understand that everything that's happening in your life and that you don't know about and things that's just happening to you, you won't get mad at it, that you'll understand it on a different basis, because you'll understand that you still don't know God's plan. And if you don't know His plan, whatever happens to you must be in His plan, and it's not revealed to you until it's coming to your lap. And when God drops a lesson or a blessing in your lap, use it, protect it, and learn from it. I appreciate y'all, man. Like, subscribe, share this channel. Know that I love and appreciate everybody that likes and comments on these videos. Knows that I'm only 26 years old, and these are the things that God has taught me in these 26 years of life. That we are all wise, that we all have knowledge, and if you put it and apply it, actually, that your life will actually change. God bless y'all, man, and I'm going to catch y'all on the next one.